in the soft glow of your bathroom mirror, as your fingers smooth the cream across your cheek, as you inhale the delicate scent of lavender and promise, I am there. Not in body, not in voice, but in essence. You will not find my name on the label. Only a word you don't recognize, squalene. But I know what it cost, because I was the one who paid it. I am a shark, a cosmetic shark, bottled for beauty, killed for profit. You never meant to harm me. You never saw my face or watched my body twist in panic as the water clouded with my own blood. You weren't on the boat that pulled me from the deep, sliced me open, took what it wanted, and threw the rest away. But you touched the bottle, didn't you? You read the words on the side, words like revitalizing, anti-aging, deep hydration. You saw the ad, the glowing skin, the gentle voiceover whispering promises of youth, of softness, of glow. You wanted that, and who could blame you? We're taught to crave youth, to polish away our age like it's rust, to treat our bodies as temples only when the offerings are expensive enough. So you reached for the cream, and I reached for the surface. You got what you wanted. I did not. Before I was an ingredient, I was alive, sleek, silent, slicing through shadow like a ghost. My skin shimmered gray and white in the shifting blue. I didn't hunt for sport. I didn't kill with malice. I survived. I patrolled coral reefs and canyon drops. I followed moonlight and thermal currents. I listened to vibrations, to the beating heart of a whale a mile away, to the whisper of shrimp legs scraping sand. My world was made of salt and patience. I saw shipwrecks draped in seaweed like forgotten altars. I saw turtles older than cities. I saw volcanoes underwater glowing in silence, and I thought it would last forever. Then came the sound, a dull, mechanical growl, alien in my sea, then light, then the net. It wasn't always a net. Sometimes it was a long, silver hook, baited and waiting. Sometimes it was a trawl line dragging through the deep like a blind god. Sometimes it wasn't meant for me at all. But once you're caught, intent doesn't matter. They brought me onto the deck. I couldn't breathe. My gills fluttered, screaming for water that wasn't there. Hands moved fast, not cruelly, not kindly, just efficiently. They didn't look at my eyes. They didn't see them widen, didn't see me twist. They didn't hear the silent panic, the question in my silence. Why? They cut into my belly. It was fast. Not enough to kill, just enough to take. My liver, large, oil-rich, buoyant, was what they wanted. That golden fluid inside, thick and pure, was the goal. Squalene. It's what helped me glide, what kept me level in the water, what let me float without effort. It was my gift, my science, my design, and now it would sit inside a jar, on a shelf, in a mall. I was thrown back into the sea, not gently, just tossed, like a forgotten thing, like garbage, and the sea, which had always held me, welcomed me now only as a weight. I sank, not fast, just steadily, slowly, without rhythm. I couldn't swim, I couldn't rise. The pressure folded around me, the cold crept into my cuts, my body twisted in the descent. I passed the reef where I'd once hunted. I passed the trench I'd once called home. I passed the shadows of others like me, some still moving, some drifting. No one came to help, because in the deep, we don't expect rescue, only memory, only silence. Above, the ship moved on. They had enough. They would process the liver, extract the oil, refine it until it was odorless, tasteless, invisible, until no one would ask where it came from, until it could be printed on a label and called natural. No lies, just absence of truth. And you, dear dreamer, you would read that label. You'd run your fingers over the cap, open the jar, dab the cream on your cheek. You'd smile at your reflection. You'd feel the smoothness, the luxury. You wouldn't feel me, but I would still be there. I don't blame you, not truly. The system hides us both. It hides the boats, the cuts, the cost. It whispers to you that this is how it's done, that nature is here to be used, that what matters is how your skin glows in the light, not what dimmed to make it shine. But still, I was here. I lived. I moved through waters older than your cities. I dreamed of the deep, and I died for a bottle you might forget in 6 weeks. Do you know how many of us are taken every year for this? Millions. Sometimes it's deep-sea sharks, the kind you've never seen, with livers that make up 25% of their body weight. Sometimes it's smaller reef sharks, easier to catch, easier to gut. Sometimes it's species no one has named, vanishing before science even met them, all for an ingredient you didn't ask to understand. And here's the hardest truth. You don't even need us. Squalene can come from olives, from sugar cane, from plants that offer it willingly, without screams, without sinking bodies. It costs a little more, takes a little longer, but it spares a life, and maybe that should matter. Maybe beauty should cost something other than blood, because I was not ugly, not useless, not empty. I was a marvel of motion, a creature of balance, a quiet intelligence in the sea's cathedral, and now I'm just a whisper in your reflection. So, the next time your fingers open that lid, the next time you smooth that cream along your skin, just pause, just a second. Ask yourself, who paid for this softness? And if you hear nothing, if the world stays silent, listen closer, because I am still there, beneath the surface, drifting slowly in the blue, waiting for someone to remember. They called it a miracle ingredient, lightweight, non-greasy, fast-absorbing, deeply hydrating, anti-aging. They called it pure, safe, natural, but never once did they say shark. They never said my name. They never said liver, or blade, or pain. They never said how many of us were sliced open beneath the sun and left to fall like secrets into the sea. You see, that's the trick. It's not the lies that hurt us, it's the silence. There are aisles filled with bottles that carry pieces of me. Luxurious serums stacked in department stores. Night creams lined in glossy rows, each promising radiance and youth. You read the words, feel the texture, trust the brand. And somewhere in the ingredients list, in tiny, careful letters, you see squalene, or squalane, its hydrogenated cousin. It sounds like science. It sounds clean. But no label tells you that someone had to bleed for it. No one tells you that it once swam in circles when startled, or leapt above waves in moonlight. No one tells you it once had eyes. And still, you used it. Maybe not knowingly, maybe not often, but I was there, in your cabinet, in your drawer. I slipped into your skin, quiet and forgotten. The ocean remembers, even when you don't. Let me tell you what the sea sees now. It sees boats, so many boats, long lines stretching for miles, trawlers scraping the bottom, fishermen who do not hate us, who are just surviving like we once did. But their survival is mechanized, scaled, profitable. They take, and the ocean tries to give, but we are not endless. I've seen sharks pulled from the deep one after another, dozens, hundreds, all for the promise of one liver. I've seen juveniles discarded like waste. I've seen mothers gutted with their pups unborn inside. Do you know what that looks like? A ripple of motion beneath torn skin, a heartbeat that will never swim. And then there's the market, the refinery, the industry built on oil, my oil, human hands that learned how to extract, refine, bottle, brand. You gave it names like hydration booster and marine lipid complex. You called it luxury. You called it self-care. But what about my care? What about the ecosystems I balanced? The prey I controlled? The reef I kept clean? Do you know that some of the sharks used for cosmetics are apex predators? That removing them unravels the food chain thread by thread, until what's left is imbalance, chaos, collapse. But that's not on the bottle. That's never on the bottle. And still, I don't hate you. How could I? You never saw me. You never touched the blade. You only touched the cream. And maybe you needed it. Maybe the world had been unkind to your reflection. Maybe you needed to feel soft or young or lovely again. Maybe you needed that ritual, a gentle swipe of comfort in a hard world. And if my oil gave you that, even briefly, even unknowingly, then I hope it helped. I truly do. But I want you to know this. You have a choice. There are other ways. There are companies now, small ones, brave ones, choosing olive squalene instead. Extracted from plants, pressed from seeds, born from earth, not blood. It costs more. It's harder to make. But it doesn't come with bodies sinking in the blue. It doesn't come with a trail of fins and empty eyes. Some brands use it already. You may have passed them by. They didn't have the same shine. They didn't promise as loudly, but they spared us. You could choose them. You could read the label more closely. Ask the question. Whisper it in the store, even if no one answers. Was a shark hurt for this? If the bottle can't say no, maybe that's your answer. And if enough of you ask, if enough of you care, then maybe one day I won't have to haunt these creams. Maybe I'll still be swimming, deep below, unseen but alive. That's all I ever wanted. To glide through the kelp forests untouched. To circle shipwrecks with curiosity, not fear. To live in the rhythms of the sea, the rise and fall of tide, the call of whale song in the distance, the flicker of bioluminescence under moonlight. I wanted to hunt only what I needed, to raise pups I'd never meet but always remember, to be part of a world older and quieter than yours, but no less important. Instead, I became a line on an ingredient list, a drop in a bottle, a silence behind a shine. But tonight, at least, you know, you've heard my voice, you've felt my grief, and that is something, because the ocean is not as far away as it seems. It lives inside the rain that touches your roof, inside the salt on your lips, inside the breath you take that once passed through plankton. And I lived in that ocean, and I died for a softness you didn't mean to demand. But maybe now you'll remember. Not every time, not always, but once. Next time you reach for that jar, next time you press that button, dip your finger, smooth your skin, pause, just for a second, and ask yourself, what else did this cost? I wish I could say I died alone, that my story was a rare tragedy, a fluke of fate, but I wasn't special, I wasn't the first, I wasn't even noticed. There are so many of us, millions each year, taken not for food, not for defense, but for convenience. Silent creatures removed from the sea for one organ, for one purpose. My species was chosen for its abundance, for the purity of its oil, for the ease with which it could be processed. I was not the first. I will not be the last. In the factories where my liver was broken down, there is no mention of my name, only codes, temperatures, efficiency, workers wearing gloves and goggles, moving quickly, not thinking about where the fluid came from. They're not villains. They're just people doing their jobs. Like you, like all of us. Somewhere along the line we were all taught that it was okay, that it was natural, that if it was on the shelf, it had already been justified. But who justified this? Not the sea, not my kind, not the balance of nature that slowly tips without us. Did you know some sharks live over 100 years? That we grow slowly, mature late, and bear children rarely? We're not like fish that multiply overnight. We are slow lives, ancient lives. We need time. Time you do not give us. When we are taken, we don't bounce back. When we are gone, we are gone. And the oil, my oil, it isn't infinite, it's not renewable. It was meant to keep me floating in the deep, not dripping from a glass dropper bottle, not printed with floral designs and branded with vague words like marine blend. You see hydration, I see extinction. You see glow, I see loss. I see schools of sharks thinned to nearly nothing, once rich populations reduced to statistics. Some species we can no longer find. Others we only recognize in pictures, in preserved specimens, in old scientific drawings made before the killing began. This is not only my story, it's the story of the gulper shark, the basking shark, the dogfish, creatures with names you've never heard because no one ever gave us myths. No one ever made us heroes. They gave us fear. Then they gave us silence. And still, I linger. Even now, as I drift into your dreams, as my voice floats into your night, I am not here to frighten you. That was never my way. I only want you to understand, to see the world beneath the surface, to hear the stories your products don't tell, to know that beauty, real beauty, doesn't have to be extracted from suffering. That softness on your skin doesn't have to come from the death of something that never meant you harm. There are sharks still swimming, still alive, still free, in trenches so deep no light touches them, in reefs full of color and movement, in waters still uncharted, still unspoiled. They are there for now, but the boats are coming, the markets are growing, and the silence is louder than ever. I have seen it from below. I have watched the propellers carve the surface. I have watched the nets fall like shadows. I have felt the tremor of death ripple through a reef when its guardian is gone. Without us, the balance tips. Prey overruns. Coral weakens. The ecosystem frays. We are not just hunters. We are keepers. We are surgeons of the sea, precise and necessary. Remove us and the whole body suffers. And for what? For radiance? For youth? For smooth skin that fades again in days? You could live without it. But I could not live without my oil. I could not live without my freedom. And now I cannot live at all. Still, I do not come to haunt. I come to guide, to offer a thread, a way forward, because knowing is the first ripple of change. If you understand what I was, what I became, maybe you'll choose differently. Maybe you'll look at the label, run your finger down that list of ingredients, and stop at my name. Maybe you'll ask, was this from the sea or the soil? Did this cost a life or just a harvest? And maybe, just maybe, you'll pick the bottle that costs more, but takes less. And that will matter. Even if only one of you hears me, even if only one of you chooses a different cream, because that one bottle not bought may be one boat not filled, one shark not hunted, one baby not orphaned, one ecosystem not shattered. You see, the power has always been yours. It was never just the fishers or the factories. It was never just the marketers or the labels. It was always you, the hand that buys, the hand that smooths, the hand that can pause, even if just for a moment, because the world changes not in noise, but in whispers, in the quiet refusal, in the unseen choice. You are not powerless, you never were, and neither was I. I was a marvel once, fast and fluid, silent and strong, unseen perhaps, but not unimportant. And now I am this, a memory bottled in cream, a voice drifting into your sleep, a question waiting on your shelf. What will you do next? They always said we were monsters. Sharp teeth, cold eyes, silent, sleek, waiting to strike. That's how they showed us, on screens, in stories, in nightmares whispered by waves. But I never saw myself that way. I did not swim for terror. I swam for balance, for rhythm, for the quiet hunger that shaped the ocean's breath. What if I told you I was gentle, that I was patient, deliberate, that I took only what I needed, that I shared the sea with thousands of species, and none of them feared me until you did. Your fear made me marketable. Your fear made me useful. I became a symbol, not of danger, but of power. I was turned into trophies, villains, and eventually ingredients. From nightmare to night cream, from predator to product. And now I live in pieces, labeled by names that hide what I was. In bottles you don't question, in routines you repeat. But still, a part of me remembers. I remember the coral gardens where I fed at dusk, where parrotfish flitted like paintbrushes across stone. I remember the sand that shifted with rays and urchins, the way sea fans swayed with the current, like dancers listening to a music only we could hear. I remember the birth of the reef after storms, how silence bloomed into sound again as life returned. And I remember the first net, not because it was cruel, but because it was different. The sea is full of predators, but they hunt with respect. They give chase, they take only the slow or the weak. They honor the cycle, but the net does not chase. It does not choose, it takes, and it keeps taking. I was not caught with malice, but I was caught, and that's what mattered. They lifted me from the sea as though I was cargo, not life. I gasped for water that wasn't there. My gills collapsed in air. My body bucked against gravity. And yet there was no rage in me, only confusion, only the ache of not understanding why. My liver was large, heavy with oil. They wanted it, they took it, and they left the rest. I sank, not in pain, but in stillness. I drifted back to the place that made me, broken, and the sea that once held me now held my absence. Above, the boats moved on, their holds full, their quotas met. They would take my oil, refine it, and sell it to people who would never see my face. You, not as an enemy, not as a monster, but as a participant in my forgetting. You don't need to blame yourself. You didn't know. They made sure of that. But now you do. And in knowing, you carry the seed of something rare, the power to change. Because I am not just a shark. I am a mother. I am a hunter. I am an elder. I am part of a world you barely see but deeply depend on. Without me, the reef grows crowded, unbalanced. The mid-level predators multiply, the herbivores scatter, the coral bleaches, the balance tips, and the silence spreads. You will feel it too, even if you never step into the ocean. You'll see it in the tides that come earlier, in the storms that grow stronger, in the fish that no longer return, in the cost of the catch, in the whisper of absence beneath the price of everything else. Because we are all connected. Every wave is a memory. Every droplet once passed through a gill or a leaf or a lung. The sea is not another world. It is part of yours, and so am I. And if I am lost, a part of you is lost too. But not all is gone. Some sharks still live, still swim, still carry the oil inside them that lifts them through the water like wind beneath wings. You can protect them, not with protest, always, not with fury, but with a whisper, a choice, a pause before a purchase, a reading of a label, a question asked gently in a store. Is this plant-based? Is this cruelty-free? Was something taken from the sea for this? If even one person asks, the system shifts. The demand bends, the supply listens. The ocean breathes. And I, what's left of me, will know that my end was not just an end, but a beginning for someone else. That I was not forgotten. That I spoke, and someone heard. Even if only once. Even if only in a dream. Now the night deepens. The world above quiets, city lights dim, and even your breath begins to soften. Somewhere a faucet drips. Somewhere a tide turns. And somewhere, far below all this, I drift. Still, silent, but not without hope. Because now you know I was here, that I was real, that I mattered, and that matters more than you think. There was a time when no one told our stories. No one spoke for the creatures without language you could understand. We were data, blur, shadows and water, but story is stronger than silence. Story is what stays when the bottle is empty, when the shelf is cleared, when the face cream is forgotten. My story may not have been printed in a book, but it is written now, in your mind, in your night, in this hush that cradles your ears and asks only this: remember. because that's all I ask of you now. Not guilt, not shame, just remembrance. Let my voice echo the next time you see the word squalene. Let it whisper when you see a glittering ad, a dewy promise, a sleek glass bottle resting between your palms. Ask yourself softly, what am I really touching? Because beauty should never be built on bones. Luxury should never leave corpses, and softness should never cost a life. The ocean, vast as it is, cannot keep giving like this. It is deep, yes, but not bottomless. It is generous, but not immune to loss. It remembers everything it loses, and it is losing more every day. Coral, fish, silence, balance, and sharks. Sharks like me. We are older than the trees. We have survived 5 extinctions. We have glided through time like ghosts. And now we are disappearing. Not in fire, not in storm, but in silence. In markets, in creams, in ignorance. But ignorance is not permanent. You can choose knowledge now. You can choose presence. You can choose intention. Buy the alternative. Ask the question. Choose the path that doesn't lead through a body like mine. And if it costs more, let it. Let it remind you that life costs something, that not all things should be cheap, that some things are worth protecting, even if you will never see them. I did not come to scare you. I came to tell the truth, quietly, gently, the way we move, the way we live, the way we disappear. All of it is soft. That is the part you never understood. We were never monsters. We were guardians of quiet. And now we are ghosts in your glow. So sleep now. Let the cream rest where it is. Let your thoughts drift like sand in current. You've done enough for tonight, simply by listening, by letting my story pass through you like a wave over reef. Let it settle in your chest. Let it shape the dreams that come. Perhaps tonight you'll drift through water, not air. Perhaps you'll feel what it's like to move without sound, to sense the shift of a distant current, to know hunger not as cruelty but as rhythm, to swim not with fear but with purpose, to live unseen and still deserving. And perhaps in your dreams you'll see me, not bleeding, not broken, just swimming, whole, unbothered, alive. That is all I ever wanted. To be part of the world, not apart from it. To move through it, not be moved out of it. To be remembered, not rebranded. Now I return to the deep, the story told, the silence broken. But you are still here, and you carry me now in your knowing, in your wondering, in your pause before purchase, in your soft resistance. You may forget me by morning, but I'll still be with you, in your hands, in your choices, in the way you now move through a world a little more awake. And maybe someday, long from now, another shark will pass through that reef. She will swim freely, her liver intact, her lineage unbroken, and she will never know me, but she will owe me, and she will owe you too, because you remembered. And that, dear dreamer, is how a world begins to change. Sleep gently now. The ocean holds your dreams, and I hold no anger, only gratitude, only peace, only this memory of being seen.